What's going on, everybody? My name is Aiden and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today I have a very interesting question I would like to ask for you guys. Now, since the season has come to an end and we are heading into a very interesting and hopefully change-worthy 2024 off-season, the question that I have to ask for you guys is, what would you rather do as a Bulls fan base? Let's just say you had the opportunity to become the general manager, the CEO, whatever position that could make changes for the Chicago Bulls. Would you rather go younger? Would you rather retool the team, change it, and try to lean it more towards experience in hopes of competing? We're going to get through the options and what I think in this video. Before we get any further, if you liked the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls and whether or not you believe you should go younger or you should retool the team in the hopes of competing. Without further ado, let's get started. I think the first thing we need to do is to dissect the positives and the negatives of both aspects. I think that's fair. So, we'll start with the retooling, because I think this is most likely the outcome we are going to see, where we keep a lot of the players that we have and we change big parts of the team. For example, Zach LaVine is probably going to get traded from the Chicago Bulls. You bring the assets in return from that trade and you try to compete again pretty much with not a familiar team, a different team, but a team that's not necessarily built on from the ground up, essentially. It's a retool. It's not a rebuild. And the positive of that is that you will get some experience into your team. You will probably get players in return that are worthy of competing and trying to take the next step. A positive of that is that you don't necessarily run the risk of starting all over again and being bad for the next couple of seasons. An even positive of that is that if you get the right pieces to build around your core foundation, or maybe even get your new core foundation in from a retooling aspect, then you saved yourself a lot of time starting from the ground up. I think those are all very big positives, and that's why I do feel like that's the direction we most likely will head down. We've made it very well known AK does not want to rebuild. He said it for ages, he doesn't want to rebuild. And whether we like it or not, he is the one that does make the changes. So if we were to make the changes, that's the positives to go down when it comes to retooling the team. Trading Zach LaVine for specific other talent that could come and make an impact. Trading Nikola Vucevic for a different identity that can hopefully help us win and win some games and be more competitive. These are the things you're looking at for a retool. The negatives, well, the harsh negative, really, is that the changes you make still may not work. The changes that you make still might not get you anywhere. And you're trying to, I guess, potentially give a short-term solution to a long-term problem. And it's like papering over the cracks in many ways. The cracks are there. The cracks might not go anywhere if you make trades. But putting paper over the cracks is a short-term solution, but eventually that paper is going to fly away into the wind, and therefore those big problems are still going to persist there. Whether that's the management, the coaching staff, the core identity. If you re-sign DeMar DeRozan, for example, you might expect to see a couple of problems that we had last season resurface in next season's problems as well. Maybe, we don't know. But that is a risk that you run. There is risk in a retooling situation. And I think that's the biggest negative we can take away from it. Also, retooling and trading could potentially give you less leverage in free agency. You know, you're trading Zach LaVine. You might have to trade Zach LaVine for players that are going to equal his contract in general. Whether that's one player or multiple players. That will still hinder you in free agency. Re-signing DeMar DeRozan will hinder you in free agency. Trading Nikola Vucevic, if you have to trade him for guys that can match up his contract, that will still hinder you in free agency. So that's a key thing as well. So those are the two weaknesses right there. And ultimately, look, there's always, for everything, there's going to be a risk that it doesn't work. Let's move over into going younger then. What's the benefits of going younger? Well, you basically rip up the Bulls team now. You start again. You trade DeRozan, trade Vucevic, trade LaVine, trade anyone that doesn't necessarily make sense to you. Maybe, example, Torrey Craig, Andre Drummond, potentially Alex Caruso. And you just go younger and you try to build a foundation from there. The positives of that, you should get higher picks in the draft and you could find the centerpiece of your team. For example, what Jokic has with the Nuggets, he's the foundation. What Luka has with the Mavericks, he's the foundation. Shai's a different example because he got traded there. But, the list can go on. What Giannis is to the Bucks. What Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Evan Mobley and Garland are to the Cleveland Cavaliers. What Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are for the Magic. These teams are currently still in the playoffs. And a lot of those players were selected from the draft and built upon. They built the foundation around them. You could find that piece for the Bulls and then build around it. That's a way to go down. I guess another situation, so I'm trying to think of it off the top of my head here. Another situation is you won't expect anything for a while. If you restart, you take everything away and you rebuild again, at least there's a purpose for your team. No one wants to be the middle of the pack. I take that back. It's not even being in the middle of the pack that's the problem. It's being in the middle of a pack with a team that you don't see a direction in. That's the problem. This team, we don't see the direction in. We don't know. That's why I'm making the video, because we don't know what our direction is. We don't know if continuity is going to come again. We don't know if retooling is going to come again. We don't know if rebuilding is going to come again. So you're in the middle of the pack with no direction. At least going younger, knowing you're not going to be good for a couple of seasons, but you build your way up to becoming good and potentially a really big vocal point in the NBA. That could be something that we do. That's our purpose. That's our future, and we can see the future, and maybe Bulls fans will be more supportive of that, knowing that we won't be good for a while, but we can also build that foundation to become good for a longer term period of time. It's definitely a future orientated situation. Another side of things, going younger doesn't necessarily mean you have to be bad. Look at the OKC Thunder. Yes, they didn't draft Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but they drafted basically everybody else on that team, and they were second, I think, in the Western Conference. They were pretty good, and they look pretty good now. And they are a very young team. I think they're the youngest team to win a playoff series. Congratulations to them. So going younger doesn't necessarily mean you're bad, but at the same time, look at the Pistons as well. They've been young for a long time. Philly were young for a long time before they got Joel Embiid. It's going to be a patience game. And it could go quickly. It could go very, very slowly. But you have to be on board if you go younger. So what's the ultimate answer? The risks are there for both. The benefits are there for both. I think this is where it's time to look at the Bulls' history. Because the Bulls' history, I think, could give you a lot of indications of what I personally think we should go down. Have we been a great free agency team, trading team even, where we can make trades that ultimately win us big things and we can sign free agents that ultimately give us big things? Historically speaking, the answer would be no. I personally don't think that's what's gotten us our success. We're not the Lakers. We're not the Boston Celtics. We're not any team that's a very big market that the players would want to go to ultimately. We've seen that in the past. You can make separate occasions here or there, but at the end of the day, the big term goal, when we've had our success, that's not been the reason why. The reason why we've had our success in the past, whether it's the D Rose era or the Michael Jordan era, heck, even the Jimmy Butler era, is because the foundation was set from the draft. That's what our history has been. We picked MJ from the draft, and we built around him. We picked Derrick Rose from the draft, and we built around him. We picked Jimmy Butler. I think we picked Jimmy Butler from the draft. Or maybe he was undrafted. I think maybe he was around the second round. Whatever. We picked him up at a young age. And we built around him. And that's where ultimately most of our successes come from the 90s era. Up until now. Finding someone, a centerpiece from the draft. A young player. And building around them. So I ask you this question. From the team that you see now. Who is the building block for this Chicago Bulls team? Where is it? Do you see it on this team already? Do you not see it on this team already? Because that will ultimately defy your answer. If you think, for example, Kobe White, it should be a player that you build around, will that get you an NBA championship? Or do you believe that there is no one on this team that you could truly build around as the centerpiece? If that's your answer, you might need to consider looking into the draft, because it's very unlikely we're going to get our centerpiece from free agency compared to the draft based on our history. So that's my answer. I think we should go into the draft and try to find our centerpiece. Maybe it shouldn't be this season, but next season, maybe. We'll see. Thank you for watching. Drop a like and a follow, and or subscribe if you are new. I will see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care, and peace.